Welcome to another episode of On the Spot with me, Edward Mumbu. Today we are recording from a very special place, Farm Remen, in the Ochobunjupa region. It is Dr. Richard Kamwi's farm, our guest today. Dr. Kamwi, welcome to the show, and thank you for welcoming us.
Thank you very much indeed.
Okay. Now maybe to start off with, you've been around for quite some time. You are you are a liberation struggle combatant with plan. You are a seasoned medical practitioner, medical doctor. You specialize in the area of malaria. You are one of the key people in the fight against malaria. And we also saw that during your time as health minister, malaria, if I stand to be corrected, but was eliminated from the country. So now you are on your farm trying to run some projects here. So briefly, just talk to us about what happens on Farm Remen. And how are you? Maybe let's start there. How are you doing?
I must thank you very much indeed for this kind invitation. It's unusual, to receive this type of a delegation. I had never expected it. I am well, I must say. When I left that office, if you were following the last thing that happened to me, I recall appearing at NBC on a one-on-one with Kazembire Zemburuka. And he asked me, the last question that he asked me was, where to now, Dr. Kamwi? And then I said to him, well, I'm going back to the roots. Which roots? I said, farming. I said to him, I'm going to do what my fallen hero and heroine, that's mom and dad, had been doing, and that is tilling the soil. And that's basically what I'm going to do. And then he said to me, oh, is that not a waste of time? Given your expertise, as you rightfully elaborated. And I said to him, well, if at all what I had been doing, my colleagues had been following, that is, number one, as minister, we were attending the SADC Health Ministers meeting on an annual basis. And then we had a World Health Assembly annually. And then some of us, by virtue of the office that I was entrusted with by His Excellency, the former president, Ifikepunye Pohamba, I had to attend UN General Assembly, UNGAS. And with my parents, they were farmers. So with that type of an introduction, and that I had been delivering, there's no way that they will leave me. And I said, with farming, you will never go wrong with agriculture. So to be brief with your answer, I had been doing well. And many people that I met tell me that, hey, what is the magic? And I tell them, well, I'm working. I'm in farming. Where I came here, you rightfully said, this is Farm Remen. I came here 8 years ago. This is my 9th year. And the first thing that I did here was to purchase cattle. There was nothing here, nothing, other than that old thing that you are seeing there. That was the so-called farmhouse. So I started building that. Greenhouse is now known as greenhouse. And the cattle had been doing well. From a total number of 25 that I bought then, to where we are, it's around 600 on a round figure. And we are selling anything around 150 to 180, depending on the season. And as a result, back to my parents in Zambezi, we were plowing, producing maize. And as I said then, I decided to uproot. If you look on the eastern part of this field, we have well over 250 hectares. And on the west, we have something like 50. And the past 3 to 4 years, the harvest was good. So much that I decided to go for a value addition that led us to consider purchasing ROF SP1 milling machine, producing special sifted maize meal. And by last year, around September, we decided to go for unsifted maize meal. So, yeah, and then back again to the questions of Kazembire. I said to him, if at all I had been delivering, I don't think they will let me go. No, I'm a malariologist. And I do know that I had been delivering. To be more specific with what you said, as I left office, there was no indigenous malaria vectors in Namibia. There was none. Because I received my PhD out of that research. Namibia was one of those countries, a total number of 21 countries, earmarked by WHO to have eradicated malaria by 2020. Namibia was one of them. Unfortunately, as we speak, Namibia is no longer one of those countries earmarked to eliminate malaria. I recall, as I left office, I think we only had 3 cases of malaria cases imported from Angola. What happened as I left office, quite interesting, from State House, that lunch, I recall flying in the evening to Vietnam as a staff member of the University of California. And I signed a contract of 3 years. And I was charged with, as a consultant for the 8 member states in SADC eliminating malaria. These 8 countries being the frontline member states of Botswana, Namibia, South Africa, and Eswatini as frontline countries to eliminate malaria. And then the 4 second-line countries being Angola, Zambia, Zimbabwe, and Mozambique to follow suit. The idea then was to move malaria, eliminate malaria from Southern Africa, moving towards Middle and the rest of Africa. That was the strategy. So I was not only employed by the University of California, but I was also employed by the African Union to serve as Africa Centers of Disease and Control champion. You will recall that as ministers of health then made a recommendation to their excellencies, heads of state and government, the African Union, that time had come that as Africans, we have our own centers of disease control. After all, the major disease outbreaks globally, the major of those diseases are on the African continent. Whether you speak of Ebola, is on the African continent, and the epicenter is DRC in SADC. And other than that, whether you speak of HIV/AIDS, the epicenter of HIV/AIDS was here in SADC. The malaria that you speak of, the major 3 killer diseases, HIV/AIDS, TB, and malaria, are in SADC. So whether you speak of any other, we now speak of this recent epidemic. It's also, we are also affected, despite the fact that it started in China, East Europe, Europe itself, but Africa was equally affected. And so it was only proper that we decided to advise our heads of state and government that time has come to launch Africa Centers of Disease Control based in Addis Ababa. And I had that privilege now 7 years ago to be appointed to serve as Africa CDC champion. I also served as a board member of Rollback Malaria Partnership to End Malaria. And I had served also with WHO as one of the independent advisors to the WHO Regional Director for the African region, Dr. Matsidiso Mweti. So yeah, all this kept me busy. I would travel and brought back home some dollars. And this actually saved us greatly in terms of, paying agribank loan. I would not have known what I could have done. So why am I mentioning all this is to respond to your question.
On what?
Am I happy?
Yeah.
Certainly, with this introduction, I can tell you that, yes, indeed, I'm happy. I still attend to my annual medical examination, and my doctor is happy with me.
Okay.
So I'm pretty happy. I have a sizable number here of workers. We have 8 guys working for this miller. We have 6 guys working for the farm. And depending on the harvest, we do have here anything to around 18 or up to 25 men and women who would come during the harvesting to play that role. So basically, having been a former planned combatant, I think I had been making a humble contribution to say when this country is independent, there's need for all of us to make a contribution. So yeah, this is where we are.
Now maybe, thank you for that brief reflection and introduction on what you have been doing. Perhaps maybe how important is it for any politician? Now, of course, you served as a politician in the executive. There's this perception that most of our politicians do not necessarily have sort of an exit strategy beyond political office. How important is it for you? We even have younger politicians now in parliament. Some of them might not return to parliament next year. So how important is it to actually have a strategy or a livelihood beyond political office?
Well, thank you very much indeed for it's a good question. But I think, like I said earlier on, it depends on your background, how you were brought up, education, which I would say is key. Why am I saying this? You see, with politics, how did I come to politics? I was invited by the founding president at the time that I was doing my research. In fact, somewhere else in Kalweke when I was called there, So I did not just join politics for a living. Absolutely not. I was invited. And I think when the president spotted me at the time, he thought of my initial contribution during the War of Liberation. I think you are aware, you look at my hands. Yeah, I was one of those who was tortured at the time for the role that I was playing. And the assignment then was from His Excellency, Comrade Dr. Sem Nujoma. So he thought of what I had. It's my reasoning, because he just called me when he was up north and he asked me what I was doing. And I said to him, I was a researcher. I was doing malaria. I was doing my PhD then. And he got interested in me. And so the former president, our second president, Ifikepunye Pohamba, saw what I was doing. And he appointed me as a minister, right? With my profession, again with my background, I did not want to leave what I learned from my forebears. As I mentioned, my mentors, mom and dad, what they had been doing. I'm an expert. Just imagine flying to Southeast Asia, Asia-Pacific countries, where I saved, there I was invited to address them as a guest of honor, as an expert. But by contrast, some of the politicians, when they go there that this is a profession. When they are out from there, unfortunately, for other reasons, I think that's what others would term a scold outside there. But in the case of yours truly, it had never been called. And I can tell you to this end, I'm still receiving invitations. I informed you, I was on a virtual, on a Zoom, just here at the farm. So that is not the case. I'm seeing the young men and women. And I'm one of those who support that there's need to expose the youth. I fought during my tenure of office. I was one of those defenders to the team of Comrade Dr. Ngurare when he was being treated together with his team. I am among those ministers who were defending their cause, that we needed them. We need the youth to be there. But at the same time, whilst saying that, I want to advise those youth not to sit on their laurels because I'm an MP or I'm a councillor in a certain town, that it ends there. Absolutely not. People would respect you, by all means, if you are an expert, if you are well read, and that you are disciplined, you are hard at work, you are full of initiatives, you want to see Namibia prosper. There's no reason actually why you should be voted out. But it's also unfortunate at this point in time to say, you know, in politics, again, it's not about who you are in terms of self-delivery. If that would be the case, I would tell you that I would still be a minister. Why? Mumbu, you were there. During congresses, during those other conferences, my name was always in the top 5, right? I am educated. It's not, I did not just acquire my education now, no. Whilst I used to be in the top 5. But that year, 2017, I recall becoming number 101. Why? It is because I differed with the power that be, and that is politics. I did not associate myself with those who yielded power at that point in time. So I'm saying this to answer on that question that in politics, you are seeing the youth. I repeat myself for emphasis' sake, the youth who are there, I remain extremely grateful to the appointing authority, to those who are still in active politics, that time has come that we consider the youth to play their role. They must be there. After all, when we listen and learn of the history of our forebearers into this, the founding president, he joined the SWAPO when he was still young. The second president was the same. The third president, may his soul rest in eternal peace, we all know he joined politics just when he started work. Right? He was a youth, just as I did. But because of education, there he was. And because of education, for me, when I left that office, unlike others, sorry to say unlike others, but it's true in a way. For me, it was for the better. Because what I shared with you is not what I was receiving per month.
Yeah.
If you were to ask me, what do I miss there? I don't think I miss anything other than the 2 drivers. By the way, I'm one of those, just like my late friend and comrade, late Abraham Yambo. I left office without a bodyguard. Never. So what is it that I miss? Okay, the two drivers that I had and the free fuel. But in terms of the vehicles, the vehicle that I drive out there, I was not driving it. I think I'm driving, a vehicle that I want to drive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, before we delve deeper into the politics, let's shift focus a bit on farm remin. Maybe your main vision for this farm, and of course, knowing that you are focused more on maize production, milling, and that whole process. Just take us through that process and really why it's so important. Of course, Namibia, knowing our conditions, the rains do not look quite positive, and drought is imminent according to some projections. So how do you, and then the element of food security in the country, which we've been preaching since time immemorial. So where does a guy like Dr. Kamwi fit in helping the nation achieve food sustainability or self-sustenance?
I like your last word, food security. Farm remain is divided actually into two aspects of agriculture, that is agronomy and animal husbandry. I have never gone to do agriculture at the university, but I learned agriculture from my late parents. Look, if ever there is something that our government should focus attention to, education, health, then agriculture. We should train as many agriculturalists as possible. Let's have technicians, let's have vets. 2 years of the 4 years that I had been harvesting here, we had been harvesting, I took note that the sale of maize to Namibi mills was extremely low. I also took note that Namibi mills is dominated by the other group. You understand my language? Mm-hmm. We fought to liberate this country, right? Mm-hmm. And not to solely depend on others. Especially this other group that wield the resources of this country. I felt the need to get into this market, to get into this industry. And I realized we can do more. I can do more. Then we are uprooted to be where we are. And the production was something for one to say, yeah, there's need for me to get something out of this. And as I said, with Namibi mills, what I was getting there was, it's not what I wanted to see. The money was little. And then I thought of getting out of this box and to get into, first, I thought of, there was this food bank program, government food bank. And then there was marginalized a community of Namibia, also government, through the Ministry of Gender Equality and those other things. And there is an Afrikaner farmer in Grootfontein by the name of Willem Gagiano. He has a milling machine, a warehouse like this. And I spoke to him. I said, look, there's a market here with government. I'm requesting you, if you may consider that we work together in partnership. What do you mean by this? I said, look, I want to apply to compete, competitively of course, that instead of me selling my maize to Namib mills, I should bring my maize to you. You mill my maize, you do the milling, I'll pay you for your work, I'll pay you for your transport, and I'll do the bidding with government. From a marginalized background, I know they will take me. You'll benefit from me through your services. I'll pay your transport, I'll pay your milling. You take my maize from Farm Remain to Grootfontein, and then take it from there to Windhoek. We agreed. I was into that business for 3 years, and I saw it working. No, for 2 years. The third year, they phased it out. As they phased it out, I had some resources for me to consider having my own miller and leave him alone, and to have my own transport, and to, you know, to build a warehouse in the north. We built a warehouse in Kanjengeti, and I decided to go for renting, one in Enana and one in Onyanya, at a place called Angula Shuaya Square. It's huge. There we are using it as a warehouse, but it is open to the general public at a very competitive prices. And I can tell you, our maize in the whole northern part of the country, including here where we are, is by far the lowest. So the next is what you are saying there. The warehouse, having our own milling machine, and having our own truck. We have a 36-ton truck, and they were supposed actually to be 2 trucks, and one of them is another story if you can make a follow-up on it. Some whites. It's a scam. 1.585 million ended up into a scam. They stole my money. It's something that is with Interpol for a second truck. And yeah, that's where we are. Cattle. Mm-hmm. The other aspect, as I said to you, every year we are selling. And there's employment creation here. So yeah, that is the way we...
Okay. No, we will just go for a short break before we return with this interesting discussion with Dr. Richard Kamwi. Well, welcome back to On the Spot with me, Edward Mumbu. Our guest is, of course, Dr. Richard Kamwi. Now, Dr. Kamwi, before we went on the break, you were actually taking us through what happens here on Farm Remin, the employment opportunities that are created here, some seasonal, depending on the harvest and all that, some permanent employees here and all that. Perhaps now from a more strategic or policy perspective, for somebody who has been in government, for somebody who's a very senior figure in our body politic and all, perhaps what are some of those reforms now that you see, maybe you have a clearer bird's eye view of the agriculture sector? You said investment must be heavily made in agriculture. I mean, what we are currently spending on agriculture is not that encouraging. if you look at what needs to be spent in terms of our GDP. What needs to happen really to achieve food security? And with food security and investment in agriculture comes employment creation. I mean, the statistics inform us that at least 70% of Namibians either depend directly or indirectly from agriculture. 70% of the population. What does it tell you?
So true. Look, I think government had tried her best in terms of this resettlement policy. We see people being resettled there and there, farms, but I doubt it as to whether government has done an assessment to see this policy, where they are resettling people, whether it is producing. I think for me, based on this experience that I have been here now for 8 years, is lack of expertise. I said to you, I had that privilege of getting this exposure from my then parents, crude as it was. But it led me to love agriculture. Here I am. But without that expertise, we are in the drought right now. But there's water in the ground. You understand? We need government to do more in checking, in inspecting, especially from those formerly disadvantaged. Not necessarily because I was an executive, but even being an executive and you come up with this type of the land, you would surely need someone with the knowledge in agronomy, someone with the knowledge in animal husbandry. Do we have them here? I'm saying it's not exposed to a commercial farmer per se. I had tried. I can tell you, some of the years here, I saw my maize being eaten by termites. I could not get assisted in terms of getting, harvesters. I did not have that expertise. And one would have expected the Ministry of Agriculture, to come on strong to assist those from the formerly disadvantaged. Similarly, with cattle, I came to learn from the Botas here, from the Van der Merwes here, from the Hagens, the Germans around here. I would get to them and talk to them. How do I manage my cattle? I did not know there is something called camps, that bulls have to be with cows for 3 months. And after 3 months, you take them to a specific camp. I did not have that knowledge. The knowledge of dehorning, the knowledge of branding, ear tagging, vaccination. I did not have all this information.
So you started with cattle farming immediately after you acquired the farm?
Exactly.
Exactly. You said you started with 25?
25 head of cattle.
25 head of cattle.
Yeah. Fortunately, when I was You know, it's another interesting story also. You know, when I was in the executive, just behind us here is Waterberg. There was a workshop there for dentists. So during the break, I started asking them, what do they do during their spare time? And one of them happened to be Joachim Bredenham, who is a stud breeder for Bonsmara. You'll notice if we were to go and see the cattle post, you'll find my cattle are Bonsmaras. So he told me he is a stud breeder of Bonsmaras. And one day, my daughter Chembe went for her teeth. And he looked at her. Apparently, my daughter resembles me. He said, your surname is Kamwi. Is he your dad? He said, yes. Please tell him I have a bull for him. So that's where I got that 25. I bought them. And then he gave me a bull. So that was the seed. So much when I came here, I kept them with him. When I brought them, when I bought this farm, there were already 75 of them. So that was a starting point. Basically, what I want to say here is there is need for government to train more technicians to assist these resettlers, those who are being resettled in these farms. I take it as a wastage in some of them. Some of them are being put in formally productive farms. Are they still productive? My answer is no. Some of them are certainly not. We need to feed ourselves. This farm where I am, believe me, the soil is fertile. This farm, you look at it, there's bush encroachment. I do not have the resources. What I learned from my neighbor, the northern neighbor, David Bota, he has a plane. He is an expert in chemicals. He is using a plane and he sprays. If it was to be sprayed, you destroy these bushes, what comes out is grass. As you entered the farm, you must have seen, okay, you'll see it when you get out. You'll see on both sides where I used chemicals. There's grass there. But resources to do that are hard to go by. And that is my reasoning that if we are to take it that we are to take food security seriously, there's need for government to put its mouth where this resources is. Surely, Namibia, with this vast land that we have, central region, Ochozonjupa, the whole northern part of this country, especially Kavango, Zambezi, and the eastern Omsat region, and Ohangwena, Omsati, all these regions, Oshkoto, Ochozonjupa, we are supposed to produce sufficient maize, sorghum, millet, but that can be done with guidance when you have technology in place, when you have technicians guiding you. This is what you need to do.
Okay.
I have been fortunate that I'm surrounded by these Boers, these farmers here, the Afrikaners and the Germans. I ask them and yeah, they are able to assist there and there. But government has to come in strongly. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, now let's shift a bit, shift our attention to the politics of the day. Of course, now you even have more time to reflect. You can see, like a spectator, you can see where your comrades are missing it, where they are hitting it, and all these other things. And it's across the spectrum. I don't want to limit our focus just to your party, SWAPO, and all that, but just our politics in general. Perhaps from where you sit right now, how do things look in the country? How is the political environment, the atmosphere?
First of all, thank you. Let me respond from what I'm seeing from a distance, but I watch my television during parliamentary debates. Mumbu, gel us down. Mm-hmm. The young politicians that you mentioned, on both sides of the aisle, you know, in parliament there, they are delivering. They are addressing issues. They are doing research. I think I'm happy with that. On the other side, I think time has come for Namibia. Time has come for Namibia that when we go out there campaigning, we should campaign truthful. We should be able to consider brains, that those people that we, when I use we, I'm part of them, the communities out there, the electorates at large, as you asked me, for both political parties, please, my advice, an honest advice, as you said, is that let's consider people who will make a difference when they are in parliament. In parliament, that is where we make laws. Please, my advice is, let's not elect those people who are going to decorate parliament chambers. No. I'm saying no to that. I know it's not my duty to say, I do see some of the MPs there who have been there for donkey years. They are just there, you know, dressed to kill. But we should expect members of parliament for all the two chambers who can make a difference. This is based in terms of the future of this country. It's meant for our children. The schools, they should think of the schools. They should think of the health sector. They should think of agriculture. Whether it's labor, there's no ministry that is, you does not need expertise. Whether it's, transport, communication, at all, you need expertise. Mining, come on. That is where we tap our resources. And ministers and deputy ministers, presidents, where do they get them? They get them from parliament. Hence, my word of advice, honestly. I was a freedom fighter. I was a member of PLAN. To this end, I still receive those, you know, I'm a veteran. But I think time has come that we should be thinking of, when we do the campaign, those people that we put in structures, from section, branch, district to regional, going forward to national. We should be considering honestly people who can read and understand what they are reading. I'm not saying totally that we should only be having graduates. That's not my word. And after all, it's not everybody. It doesn't mean that when you are a graduate that you'll deliver. No. But let's look at brains. Let's look at those people who will make a difference. I do know Sam Nujoma, our founding president, when he went abroad, I don't think he had a degree. He did not. But there, he was such a formidable leader. Unquestionable. We'll never have that type of leadership. So much that in the end, he graduated with an MSc in geology. You can see his thinking. And this is what I'm trying to address here. That it's education that would make a difference. But that should also go with other initiatives, being disciplined, being more patriotism, that this country that we fought so hard, this country that so many people shed their, sweat and blood, did not. We should not, for a better lack of good words, forfeit them. No. Let's remunerate them by making sure that this country should live to that dream of Sam Nujoma of, to be an industrialized country come 2030. But how many years do we have now to go to 2030? So few years. Mm-hmm. So basically, as I see it, I am seeing a glimmer of hope from the young generation in particular. But it's time for consideration to be made that as we will be going, it's this year, by the way. Yeah. Consideration to the former colleagues that please, you also the young generation, you should use your voice to talk to the seniors to make sure that you are seen to deliver, and that let's see whether what I'm saying here is not true. Yeah.
Okay. Now, while at that, perhaps where are you politically? Do you consider yourself retired, or do you consider yourself returning to mainstream politics? I remember you just mentioned earlier that the things that you miss, there are not so many things that you miss from being in political office. So where do you see yourself? Do you see Richard Kamwi come back?
Look, they always say in politics, how do you come in politics? You come, for me, as I was invited, right? If I can be invited, if I may, the word is may be invited. I think I can answer that question when we cross the bridge.
Yeah.
But generally, I want to be honest with you, Mumbu. I don't miss anything that I would think it should take me out to there and start campaigning I will campaign for my political SWAPO to win all the way, all the time, because of what SWAPO party meant from its establishment, the Workers' Party, to freedom, to realize Namibia's independence. To be where we are, nothing beats independence. Nothing beats one to be independent. Today, I do know there are challenges out there, Mumbu, but we are able to challenge ourselves because of the freedom that SWAPO Party brought to be in place today. So based on that, I'll go into my grave, you know, fighting for SWAPO, but not for myself. For myself, I spoke of my education. I'm saying for my education, I remain extremely grateful to my two mentors, mom and dad. They were uneducated, so much that as I speak to you, I do not even know exact date that I was born. My parents were uneducated, but they were able to produce a doctor. I'm an expert. But I owe it to SWAPO Party. I owe my education, secondly, to SWAPO Party. My parents educated me my primary. After that, it was actually at independence that I left, sponsored by the government, to go to UK, study there for some years. I got my BSc, my MSc, and then back sent to the University of, to University of Natal for my PhD, and finished here at the University of Namibia with my PhD. All I owe it to my government, SWAPO Party government, and of course the WHO for my fellowship in all. So, yeah, based on that, I will still campaign vigorously. When it's time they need my support, I will support my party.
Okay, now that you are there, I just want to take you back to 2017. The 2017 Congress, really, where the different factions of the party really battled it all out. I mean, as reporters, as journalists, we observed how fierce the competition was, the mudslinging and all of that, the name calling and all of that. And then we saw again the re-emergence of that during the 2022 Congress, where different factions also, of course, albeit silently, they were camps. I mean, even during their campaigns, it was evident that this camp, it was this camp against this other camp. And fast forward, unfortunately, now with the death of President Hage Geingob, again, the debate has ensued in your party, SWAPO, of a Congress. I mean, the constitution of the party is quite very clear on that. It's not something that should be debated because it's quite crystal clear. So how do you see all of this, and what is your appeal to your cadres in the party? How do you bring them together in this very difficult moment?
First and foremost, you started with 2017.
Yeah.
I want to say what happened in 2017 was most unfortunate. And my prayer is that that should not repeat itself. And that is the basis of the failures that we may be experienced today. And I don't pray to repeat to that ugly situation. Simply was unfortunate. Where are we today? I think I'll try to be short on this one. By culture, I come from the eastern part of this country, Zambezi region. And in Zambezi region, we do not discuss matters of this nature the way you asked me, the way you briefed your introduction remarks. Mm-hmm. You do not discuss something, our former president, his body is still in the mortuary. How do you come up with this type of a topic? No, my mm-hmm. culture does not allow it.
No, I totally get that, but it's what some of your party cadres have already started that discussion. That's where the background is coming from.
I would still say, number one, that look, we have a guiding document, and that is the Constitution. And then you have structures. Those in structures, the party itself will pronounce itself at an appropriate time. But for me personally, it is something that I do not entertain. Mm-hmm. Not at this point in time. Okay. It's against my culture. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Now, while still in SWAPO, perhaps the question of unity, even leading up to the unfortunate situation that we find ourselves in, there were some fractures within the party itself. Perhaps what is your appeal going into an election year? What is your message to your comrades?
My message is just simple. For now, as our leaders are saying, I listen to the current president, President Dr. Nangolo Mbumba, and congratulations, by the way. I congratulated him already, but because you are on this platform, yeah, I have to do that. He simply asked the nation to remain calm, right? And at a political party, as you said, the vice president of SWAPO party is Comrade Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah. She too, as she addressed the party membership at large, is that she appealed for calm. So if we can remain calm, let's wait at an opportune moment, at an appropriate time. Surely the leadership will pronounce itself. But for now, humanly speaking, I repeat myself, I want to use my culture, that no matter how much the differences you may have had when this person was still alive, when this person is no more, all of us must have our heads down and respect the dead. When the dead are buried, at some times the rituals are done, people are always advised properly, in an orderly manner. A leader will emerge. Mm-hmm. And we believe in democracy. And the one who would emerge Victoria, let that person take the lead. And those who may not be as fortunate should please follow suit. But above all, respect for the Constitution of SWAPO Party as a living document. We follow it. There will not be divisions at all. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, I want to take you back to the question of agriculture before we wrap up.
Yeah, that one I speak with smile.
Yeah. Now we, obviously, as a farmer,
yes,
and then for somebody who comes on the other side of the red line, from the Zambezi, and you are farming, you find yourself on this other side. There is that contentious issue of the red line that still persists to this day. Successive administrations have promised that no, the red line will be removed. The red line this, the red line that. Perhaps, what are your views on the red line, and what is the lasting solution really? And I want to tie that in with food security. I mean, there are various arguments that are being advanced for the red line's removal. There are also counter arguments that are being advanced to say, no, the red line must remain intact. But from where you sit, what is to be done?
Thank you very much indeed, and I will try to my best the way I see it. You asked me a question that I would normally try to. It's not an easy one. Mumbu, let me respond this question from a professional point of view and as a farmer. Not an ordinary, but as a commercial farmer. It takes us again back to what I said to education. That government must do more. How do we address this matter? First of all, let me tell you, all my two grandmothers are from Botswana. All my two grandmothers. My grandmom, dad's mom, is from Botswana. My grandmom, my dear mom's mom, is from Botswana. I actually had my primary education in Botswana. Red line is not only in Namibia. In Botswana, we have red lines there. Not just one, but we have red lines. One of Botswana's in terms of Botswana's economy is meat. You may wish to know that. I came to know about BMC, Botswana Meat Commerce, something like that.
Corporation.
Meat Corporation. I came to know it whilst still in Botswana in my primary education. That's when I came to know about BMC. And yes, indeed, I came to know about areas in Chobe, where I grew up, where I had my primary education. We could not sell. They could not sell. Our parents could not sell a cattle beyond Chobe. Why? Because they were considered to be in the areas of foot and mouth disease, which is the same like here. In Botswana, there are areas which are considered to be free from disease burden. And as you may wish to know, that Botswana's BMC, they export their meat in Europe. It's one of their strengths, the economy of Botswana. The home, cattle. They have the market. But how are they managing it? They are managing it because government had established the market within those areas. Like in our case, I come from Zambezi region. We have cattle there. My brother is one of those who have herds of cattle. But there's no market. all the way along those areas. Introduce the market there. Educate the masses there how and where they should market their animals. They have more cattle there, so many cattle, but there's no market. Where do you expect them? We too here, where we live, based on this argument that I have just shared with you, I don't think I'll be in a position today to support the idea that we should open up, you know, the so-called red line. Just like that. We have cattle all the way, especially from Kavango. When you are in Kavango, you are in Ohangwena, throughout to Kunene where you come from. Do cattle have the border there? No. Just recently, we saw our honorable ministers of international relations with discussions where on the cattle. Where are they grazing? In southern Angola. What is happening there? Are these cattle being taken care of as is the case in Namibia? The answer is no. So in as long as we have that situation, we should not, my argument then comes in to say, let's not taint on this market that we have this end. This market is accommodating us all. Namibia is now free and independent. Those with the means. I come from Zambezi. I own this farm, and we have so many from Zambezi. We have so many from Kavango. The farm behind here, behind me, is for someone who comes from Kavango West. And I have seen a number of them who have penetrated the market inside here. Let's leave this matter to government through the Ministry of Agriculture and other things to resolve it on a win-win situation, that those people on the other side of the red line should benefit. Of course, not at to the same standard, but what I came to learn as an example, the meat from the other side is now being accepted in Ghana, am I right?
Yeah, in Ghana, I think
in DRC,
Angola, I think markets are being established in Dubai.
In Dubai?
Yeah, and I think somewhere in the Middle East as well.
Yes. Let's leave to government, and the government must move fast that they address those challenged. The challenges that they are crying, that outcry is real.
Okay.
I was there. I used to have my cattle each and every year. I would own cattle 105 this year, 104 this year, 107. Not much was being done there. Is being done. So there is need for government to penetrate and come up with, expand the market. I don't think if you expand the market, there will be need to spoil this market.
Okay, now the other argument is, perhaps at household level, someone would argue that I am not interested in the big market. I'm not interested in exporting my meat. I just want to kill a goat at my village, Orokapare in Opo, kill it, eat half of the carcass, and then the other half I want to transport it to Windhoek to feed myself or my family. but that meat is not allowed. So that's the other argument. How do we address that? Because meat in ShopRite and wherever is expensive.
I hear you. You know, there was a time when I used to argue on another platform. And I would argue by saying, look, as a scientist, you argue comparing and contrasting. You learn from other references. You make reference. My reference to you, as I said earlier, our neighboring country, eastern neighbor, Botswana, is experiencing the same. I come from Zambezi. We have people who live in Impalila. They cannot cross with their meat to Impalila. We have people in Chobe, in Mabele, in Mabele, in Kachikau, Kavimba, Paragarung Satau there. They are in the areas where it's like Zambezi. When they go to Kasani, do they carry meat? Absolutely not. They don't. Do they have goats there? They do. Do they slaughter them? Yes, they do. Is it cheaper? Yes, it is cheap. But I think let's all agree to disagree. And let's not pinpoint fingers at others. I had been on this debate. It raises, you know, emotions. Look, I don't think we will ever go to that situation that we were before independence. We now have experts. Let's give this matter to expertise to advise us. When this argument started, call it at independence, we were not talking of the Dubai market. We were not talking of the Accra market, the Luanda market, the DRC market. We were not. But today, we are able to speak about those. Well, all I'm trying to say is, not because I own this farm, but even before I owned this farm, my argument had been having these animals here. Maybe it's because of my background. I have done animal disease, animal parasitology. I have done it. And I speak from that background that we will do more harm
than good
at present than good if we can open freely. We are likely to lose our lucrative meat market. China has opened the market because of these measures. No bigger market is greater than China. USA, they are now buying our meat. Europe, they are now buying our meat. But I challenge, let's open. We will lose all that market. And that is not good for our children, for the future of this country. That is not good. In as long as there are ways that this matter can be handled than doing the worst part, I would go for that. And I do know there are certainly better ways. Botswana is a living example. Why don't we copy? Copy from the program that is working. Take it from there. I mean, I said to you in my introduction that When I came here, I did not know what to do. But I had been coping. You go in my animals, you will find that they are now competing with the rest of other commercial farmers.
Okay.
It's the same here.
Okay, now Dr. Kamwi, I think we've reached now the end of the program. But I have a last question. This is an election year. And the greater majority, one of the trends that we've been noticing is voter apathy. Namibians are not turning up to vote en masse to exercise their democratic right. The youth are among those that have been found guilty of not participating in the electoral process. Perhaps what is your message to Namibians as we go into a very decisive election?
First of all, not to go for election, not to vote. You are not doing anybody a harm, but you are fooling yourself. To go and vote gives you that right to make a difference by putting your vote on a person that you think will make a difference. Voter apathy. One of the areas that contributes to voter apathy, among others, is this issue of sticking, of doing things that are not right. For those who found themselves into the leadership, I advise the leadership at all, and not just SWAPO. Look, for the years that I have been a member of SWAPO, that I have been in government, I have been an active politician for 15 years. We need watchdogs. We need those who can counter, even when we are doing things that are not right. Who can say, hey, this is fish rot. This is not good. Fish is for all Namibians. It should not be for a chosen who. No. Corruption out. When we are in leadership, we should not be seen to be still, putting things into our big pockets, siding other fellow, Namibians for reasons only known to the leadership. That thing is not good. It contributes to voter apathy. Let's listen to each other. Let's respect each other. And above all, again, I stick to that thing of constitution. Respect of constitution. To the youth, please, the future of this country, Namibia, the only home that we call ours, rests in the hands of the youth. As such, I want to encourage you to have, a word, to have a voice for the voiceless. With your education, you are on a right track. Influence, encourage as many as possibly can to go and vote correctly for those people that you think they will make a difference for the better tomorrow. Think of education, health, agriculture, roads, transport, works, and others, mining, engineers, architects, etc., etc. If you go for this person who cannot even read and write, is she going to make a difference? If not, please speak out whilst you are still in your constituencies that this is the right person. Debate over it. And I want to appeal to our leaders, those in leadership. I was there. Please let us listen to our followers. Let us listen to the electorates. Let us know the electorates, not only now during elections, not at all, but it should be all seasons. We should be seen to go and into the communities and upgrade schools. I mean, these unacceptable failures, it should stop. And it can only be stopped when you elect correctly. I think that if we reason into those ways, progressively, not just boastfully, no. Let us listen to each other. Let us respect each other. Constitution is a living document that should be respected by all.
Dr. Kamwi, thank you very much for accepting our invitation and for welcoming us on your farm.
Thank you.
We wish you all the best.
You're most welcome.
Thank you. This brings us to the end of another edition of On the Spot. Until we meet again, it's bye-bye.